Hello knitters, Elena here from Knitting Confessions. Today I wanted to do a much shorter tutorial on how to do a provisional cast on. My last video was rather long and detailed, and so this video is meant just to help people who just want a quick kind of overview on how I do provisional cast on for knitting in the round. So let's get started. So you just need three basic things: your waste yarn, knitting needles, and a crochet hook, and it's really rather simple. So all you do is you make a slip knot, and I like to chain a couple stitches before I start. I just find it makes it kind of neater for that first stitch. And so how you do a single crochet chain is you take your crochet hook with the slip knot already on. You bring your yarn behind, wrap it around so it catches in this, in the hook, and you just pull it through the loop. And it's that simple. So yarn behind, bring it around, and pull it through. And so you just do that for a few times, and it can be a little fiddly when you're initially doing it. But there you go. And then I like to start by you take your needle in your left hand and your crochet hooks in your right, and you just simply bring the yarn behind the knitting needle. You wrap it over and you catch it in the hook, and you just pull it through. So again, behind, bring it over the needle, catching it with your crochet hook and pulling it through the loop. Behind, bringing it over, catching it with the hook, and bringing it through. Oops. Behind the knitting needle, over the top of the needle, catching it with the hook, and pulling it through the loop. So you just continue doing this for as many stitches as the pattern calls for. And the little trick that I like to do to make joining it in the round a little bit more seamless is I'll add an extra stitch onto the needle, and I will show you why that's important here in just a moment. I'm just going to finish casting on all my stitches, and I'll be back to show you that last little trick in just a moment. Okay, so I've now cast on all the required stitches for this pattern, and I did one extra stitch. And so to finish, I like to chain about twice the amount that I did for the cast on when I did those first couple chains, and that just allows me to, wow, this is really splitty yarn today. There we go. And that just allows me to know which is the beginning and which is the end, which is helpful when you go to unravel your provisional cast on to do your Kitchener stitch or pickup stitches, whatever the pattern calls for. So it doesn't have to be exact. I just like it to be noticeable when I have like what's the beginning and what's the end. So that is clearly more than this one. And then all you do is you just break your yarn, and it doesn't have to be a long tail. And then you just pull the yarn through that last loop and give it a little tug. Okay, so I mentioned in the beginning I always like to cast on one additional stitch for joining in the round, and I'll show you why. So push your stitches kind of up towards the front of your needles, making sure that you haven't twisted your stitches, so they're all kind of nice facing the right direction. And then, so this is the end and this is the beginning. So short tail is the beginning, long tail is the end. And you just take the last, or the first stitch I should say, from your left needle, and you pull it over onto your right hand needle. And then you take the last stitch from the right hand needle, the one with the long tail, and I just simply Oops, and then this part can be a little tricky, is to slip it up and over. So now you have it joined in the round. And then you would just take whatever yarn you were using and you knit just like normal. Don't forget to place your beginning of round marker. I also find it helpful to place a lifeline. I use fishing line after you've knit the first row. It makes it a lot easier when you're unraveling. And that's all there is to it. Kitchener stitch in the round. Happy knitting!